It's here, guys. It's here. The 1916 Project, the book, the film, pre-order, screenings this summer. It's here. We're ready. It's been a year in the making. Whether you knew it or not, I was traveling the world. I've been teasing this. The trailer's now live online. I just want to share my heart with you today. I want to share some stories. I want to do a public launch episode of this movie and this book, which we want you to go slam the pre-order sales, buy them for your weak, woke, wimpy, confused friends that you love, whose minds you want to change. Send this book to your pastor. Attend a screening this summer. It's here. It's not the 1619 Project that explains how we got here. It's the 1916 Project. I have bled, sweat, and cried to make this happen. It's here today for you for the first time. The 1916 Project. We have some exciting stories, testimonies, and updates for you on how you can get involved in this nationwide movement, book and film. The 1916 Project. Buckle up, you're in for a treat. You made this happen. Welcome to the Seth Gruber Show. Well, this is it, guys. I wrote a book and I made a movie. I've been talking about this. I've been mentioning some blurbs to you guys recently about this on the Seth Gruber Show and on some stages where I've been speaking about around the country. But this is it. This is the public announcement of my new book, The 1916 Project, and its companion film. Yeah, we made a movie, The 1916 Project. Guys, I've been working on this for over a year. This idea was birthed at a meeting with my team at the White Rose Resistance in April of 2023. So we've been at work on this for over a year. And some of you have heard about this because maybe you've seen me at Pastor Jack Hibbs in January. We talked about this. We showed the trailer exclusively only to Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills in Southern California. Maybe you've heard me speak at a church and you heard me mention it, but only as of early June of 2024 did we finally release the trailer for the world on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Rumble, and I'm now starting a crazy, insane screening tour this summer in I think it's like a 10-week run, mid-June through the end of August. And an insane interview podcast schedule on a lot of the shows that you probably listen to and have come to know and love that you may see yours truly on very soon, talking about this book and about this film. And I want to share some of the stories behind this with you guys, because if you're listening to this, you probably support the White Rose Resistance. If you don't, you probably pray for us and you support us that way. If you don't do that, you probably share my clips and help expose the sordid, shocking, hard to believe history behind Planned Parenthood, the sexual revolution, the cultural Marxist leftist revolutionaries of the 20th century who have affected this culture today. If you're listening to me now, you've probably care about the issue of life and have supported the calling that God's put on my life. And if you've been listening to this show for a long, long time, you may have been listening to me rant on this little humble podcast since 2019 when I launched the show Unaborted, recently rebranded the Seth Gruber Show. Well, here we are. And I just want to say thank you to you guys, my listeners, our faithful listeners of this show who share these episodes. I get your testimonies. I get your emails. I get your messages. I'm sorry if I don't always respond. I got 3 kids under 7 and I traveled 9 days a road on the month. And we now have a fast-growing team and ministry and organization. But I read your messages. The people's minds you've changed by listening to the episode, the confidence you've gained. Some of you have sent me stories about the babies you've saved because you got involved with sidewalk counseling outside abortion centers because you listened to this show. I'm saying this for this reason. This book and this film, it's kind of the culmination of those years of faithful producing of podcast episodes. Guys, if you've been listening to this show since 2019 or 2020, I used to research and study for 5 to 7 hours per episode that you listen to. Hundreds of hours of research, of study, of reading, and of speaking all across America on these issues that you care so deeply about that you're kind of freaked out about probably, and how these issues are affecting your family, your children, loved ones in your family. Some of you have lost relationships with loved ones over your bold stance for the preborn and the family in America. This book and film is the culmination of years of that research, speaking and writing that you've been a part of with me. And so I just want to thank you as the listener base and audience of this show for listening, for sharing, for praying for us. We are living in an insane moment in the American culture war. And if you listen to the show every week, I don't need to give examples of that. Pro-life sidewalk counselors facing years in prison. But if you dance naked in front of kids at a pride rally, everything's chill. I mean, we could give example after example. You're concerned about this. I bleed, sweat, and cry over these issues. My wife and our family has given our entire life over to this fight. This is the culmination of all of that. Yes, I'll write more books. Yes, we'll make more movies. But this is my first book and my first film. And it's called The 1916 Project. The subtitle of the book, by the way, is The Lying, the Witch, and the War We Are In. If you don't get that insider reference, sucks for you. No, I'm just kidding. You probably know exactly what that refers to. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, kind of a fun play. But this book does teach you about all of the lies that have created this culture of death. The witch who mainstreamed those lies and sold it to the American public on a silver platter under the guise of a misguided Roaring Twenties humanitarian that the liberal establishment convinced multiple generations was a feminist slay queen who just wanted to help minority families plan their parenthood. And she mainstreamed those lies better than anyone else. She's probably the most successful leftist activist revolutionary of the 20th century. And I'll prove that in this book. And so, welcome to the war. Buckle up, it's more dangerous than you thought. We're now in this war because of the lies mainstreamed by revolutionaries, but none more so effectively than Margaret Sanger. So why should you pre-order this book? Why should you buy some for your relatives? Listen, I'm not a big deal, okay? I'm not nearly as big as anyone else. I've just been blessed to have a humble platform, okay? Charlie Kirk, Kirk Cameron, Jack Hibbs, Nick Vujicic, these warriors have a far more effective voice, platform, ministry. I'm just a humble guy over here with a little podcast, tooting my horn, trying to wake up the blood-bought bride of Christ in America to get engaged against the culture of death, stand for life, our children, and the next generation. But here's what's unique about this book and this film from yours truly. I discovered one of the least covered news stories in a long time by the conservative news media. And hey, we follow Daily Wire, Breitbart, Epic Times, great publications and groups. But I was shocked at how few news outlets covered this story I'm about to tell you about, which is kind of the opening scene of my book. I don't want to spoil too much, but I've talked about this publicly for a long, long time. In the summer of 2020, July of 2020, Planned Parenthood canceled their founder, Margaret Sanger. I don't know if you know about this. It's a shocking story. It's hard to even begin thinking through it. I mean, Planned Parenthood was founded in 1921. Its first clinic was in 1916. And since then, the liberal establishment, the Democrat Party, the left, our universities, legacy media, the whole thing has been carrying water for this woman, Margaret Sanger. They've been whitewashing her. They've been sort of, let's say, curating her more rougher edges. Some of the quotes, some of the books, some of the statements, some of the activities she was involved in, some of her best friends, that they really didn't want broader Americans to know about because it's so damning. And it indicts the entire liberal establishment who has supported, celebrated, and funded Planned Parenthood, unlike almost any other group that they love and support. And so, what in the world happened in the summer of 2020 to cause Planned Parenthood to cancel their founder, label her a racist, and take her name off their building? Did you know this? In the summer of 2020, their flagship clinic in Manhattan, New York, was called the Margaret Sanger Health Center. And in July of 2020, because of pressure from the 1619 Project revolutionaries, right? Remember the New York Times 1619 Project? Do you all remember this? They said that like America's real birthday and heritage and founding shouldn't be 1776. It should be 1619 when the first black slaves come to American shores. And they said that that event so represents how we're such a bigoted, systemically racist culture in society today that that should be America's birthday. We should actually call that America's founding because we suck so much, because we're so racist, right? And they claimed that the American Revolution was fought to maintain slavery in the colonies. And so, like, liberal, left-leaning atheist historians were writing letters to the Pulitzer Board because it won a Pulitzer Prize, telling them to remove the Pulitzer because of the historical revisionism. Anyways, because of the 1619 Project in 2019, and then you've got BLM in 2020, George Floyd, summer of 2020, burning down anything that they argued sort of represented systemic racism, right? Because they said the police force is racist, right? Because they always shoot black people. So what were they doing? They were burning down police stations. Remember all this? Okay. Well, during that summer, people started calling the somewhat fiery, mostly peaceful riots of 2020 the 1619 riots. Did you know that? People started calling them the 1619 riots. Because, what are they saying? They're saying, because of the systemic racist heritage of 1619, this is why black people are hurting so much in America today. It's why white people are all racist, so they all have to apologize for their whiteness. And so we got to cancel Aunt Jemima. In the heated environment of 2020, the revolution started eating its own. You remember this. They started going after anyone or anything that they argued was racist or had a heritage in racism, right? And so in that heated environment, Planned Parenthood started getting attacked by the disciples of the 1619 Project and Black Lives Matter Incorporated, saying that, hey, your founder was a racist, Planned Parenthood. They admitted it, they called her a racist, and they canceled her. This leads to a very interesting question, which is, what's the real story? What's the real history behind Planned Parenthood and their founder, Margaret Sanger? If they've lied to you about their patron saint, what else have they been lying about? So it's this shocking story, because you have to remember, Nancy Pelosi got the Margaret Sanger Award. Barack Obama got the Margaret Sanger Award. Do you understand this? Like, this is their sacred cow. This is their hero. And not because of pressure from conservative pro-lifers, but because of pressure from left-wing, pro-abortion, cultural Marxists. That is only when Planned Parenthood cancels their founder. So for the last year, whether you knew it or not, I was traveling around the world filming for, researching, and writing this book and helping create and produce this film. So this June, okay, this month, through the end of August, we're screening the film. It's a 75-minute full-length documentary at churches all around the country. It's the only way you can watch the film before the online streaming release of the film later this year. And so you can go to the 1916project.com to host a screening at your church, actually. Did you know that? If you're listening to me right now, I'm asking you, as Seth Gruber, your host, and someone that loves you simply because you support this show and have helped pray over me and my family and the calling God's put on our life, I'm asking you to host a screening of this at your church. Go to www.the1916project.com and scroll down and just press the button, host a screening. Fill out the form. My team will get back to you. We'll give you all the details you need, and you can watch this film and invite others to watch it and host it at your church before the whole world can watch it online later this year. But you know what? God has moved so powerfully through this film. I wanted to share just some really cool stuff with you guys. But first, we would like to thank our sponsor of the Seth Gruber Show today, Every Life Diaper Company. I love these guys. I was talking about them before they were a sponsor, because that's how much I believe in what they're doing. All of the baby industry, like basically all the baby industry companies and diaper companies, support abortion. It's insane. You can't even make it up. Okay, it's like I don't know. It's like a company that makes shoes for women, and they say, by the way, we want to fund the elimination of women. It's just really weird. Why do you want to get rid of your clientele base? I don't know. We got to retake a culture of life, and we got to rebuild that culture of life by defunding the culture of death. Y'all, you got to fight with your wallet is what I'm saying. Don't spend your dollars and money with people who hate you and your values and unborn babies. So if you've got babies, your church nursery, your pregnancy center, your nieces, nephews, grandma, grandpa, grandkids, okay, you need diapers, everylife.com, promo code Seth10, Seth10, get you 10% off your first order. Let them know that we sent you. They're the fastest growing diaper company in America right now. So it's not just like, oh, they agree with us, so we'll give them our money. No, they're actually like a really legitimate business run by incredible business professionals, and they're defunding the pro-abortion diaper companies. That's why we love them. Okay, go support the Seth Gruber Show. Go support the White Rose Resistance by supporting Every Life Diaper. Everylife.com, promo code Seth10. Thank you, Every Life, for being a sponsor of the Seth Gruber Show. This is just a little bit of a different episode today, isn't it? We're not doing as much commentary on current events, but I'm kind of just chatting with you because we're here and the ministry's here, and the success that God has allowed us to have is in large part due to you, actually. The Christians who listen to this show and pray for us and donate to us and share our clips to change minds, change hearts, and save lives and awaken the church. And so throughout the second half of 2023, I was going to Nashville. I was going to Raleigh, North Carolina. We went to New York City. We went to Munich, Germany. We went to Houston. We went to California, and we filmed in Kansas, where my family and I live now. And we produced what I believe, slightly biased, is probably the most shocking pro-life documentary ever created. It captures so much of the hidden history of the secular moral revolution. Did you know there is a hidden history to the secular moral revolution? Did you know that history is written by the winners? And unfortunately, for the last 80 to 90 years, let's be blatantly honest together right now, can we? The winners in America have not been the church. Yes, we win in the end. Okay, we've read the end of the book. Amen. I'm talking about here and now in our current political system, in our culture, who have been the winners since about the 1940s, 1950s in America. Yes, we beat the Nazis in 1945, praise God. After that, who began to become the dominant winners in America? The radical left, okay, the cultural Marxists. And you know what's crazy is they told us what they would do, and then they went and did it. And we have been caught asleep at the wheel, and it's time to wake up. And that's why we did this film. And so it was insane, the amount of spiritual warfare that happened in producing this film. And we'll share more of this in the coming months with you. But I almost never get flights canceled. We had flights canceled like you wouldn't believe. We had my trip to Munich airport canceled 90 minutes before boarding. Canceled, the whole flight canceled. Had to go to Amsterdam, then had to go to Frankfurt, then had to take a 5-hour train ride through the middle of the night. We had like structures falling off of buildings and icicles, like on like my crew's heads, like filming, like that. Yeah, I know, it's insane. Okay, we had to like drive through the night into Raleigh, North Carolina, because the flight got canceled. I have never experienced so many flight cancellations and frustrating travel arrangements than in the production of this film. I'm telling you, I do about 9 to 10 travel days a month just speaking around the country. And I almost never have delays or cancellations. But every time I traveled for the film, all the bleep hit the fan. Okay, don't give the devil more credit than he's due. I know. Don't stub your toe and say, "Damn you, Satan." Okay, that's silly. But we had some crazy thing happen, and I believe it was attributed to spiritual warfare. I believe that this is a film and this is a book that the enemy of our souls does not want into the hands of who? Of young Christians in their teenage years and early 20s who, can I just tell you this? I speak to a lot of young people. Okay, I'm 32 now. I speak to a lot of young people in their, let's say, 19 to 25, 19 to 26. The young people of America are very confused and slightly hopeless. Have you seen the numbers of depression, of suicidality, of drug use, pornography use, addiction? The young people of America are very confused. They They're lost at sea without any moorings because the church has stopped proclaiming the truth that we have and that we've been tasked with proclaiming to people who want answers. This book is my humble attempt to provide some of those answers. And I truly believe the spiritual warfare and the attacks on our team, myself and my family, my kids and family never got sicker than when I traveled for the film, to film around the country and around the world. If I go travel to speak, everything was fine at the home front. But if I traveled to film, we'll tell you more stories in the coming months, but I believe that this is a project that the devil did not want completed. And while it is my first book, I have been fighting on the front lines of the culture war since I was about 19. So I've been fighting this fight for over a decade. I have a lot of experience, I have a lot of knowledge, and I've spent a lot of time going like full-blown homeschool, like ADHD nerd, like level research status to put together this book for you. Even if you are here, how about this? Let's let our Catholic friend, Frank Turek, okay? We're not Catholic, we're Protestants, but we love our Catholic friends who fight for the unborn with us. Let's let Frank Turek's, not Frank Turek, Frank Pavone, Father Frank Pavone, who was defrocked by the Catholics for being too pro-life. He said, read this with an open mind and heart. It will reveal to you the biggest challenge to defeating the culture of death. And it will reveal to you the biggest challenges to defeating the culture of death are not the enemies around us, but rather the ones within us. Cowardice and excuses, often dressed up in religious garb. Our most urgent need is not to figure out what we must do, but to summon the courage to do it. This book has me jumping up and cheering. Read it, and let's go fight for life. David Benham, of the Benham brothers, whose father is Flip Benham, who brought Norma McCorvey to Jesus and baptized her. Who's Norma McCorvey? Well, she went by the name Jane Roe. Yes, that is the woman and plaintiff behind the Roe versus Wade decision. David Benham, a friend and warrior for life for us, says, I thought I knew all the pro-life answers, having been raised in a pro-life home with a dad who baptized Norma McCorvey, the Jane Roe of Roe v. Wade, and spending most of my time ministering at abortion clinics. Then I read this book. Seth Gruber brings theology, history, philosophy, and storytelling together like few other thinkers in the pro-life movement. I couldn't believe some of the mind-blowing facts behind this fight that I'd never heard before. This is a must-read for every Christian, including those who think they've heard it all. So I'll stop because I'm sounding a little bit too prideful, like I'm tooting my own horn. What I'm telling you is I've studied and researched enough to know that even if you think you know a lot about the fight for life, this book will give you answers and fact bombs that you have never heard before. And why is this important? Hilaire Belloc, who was one of G.K. Chesterton's best friends, said that to comprehend the history of a thing, to comprehend the history of something, is to unlock the mysteries of its present, and more, to discover the profundities of its future. So let me translate that for you. He's saying that if you can comprehend the history of something and you understand it, that will unlock the mysteries of how that ideology is manifesting in the here and now, but also where those ideas will take you in the future if nothing changes. So what does he mean? He means we don't study history purely to understand what happened then. We study history to understand what's happening now and what will continue to happen moving forward if nothing changes. This is why understanding the history of how we got to this moment in America is so important, because what? Now you'll understand the fight that's happening before your very eyes in front of your family now. And how to right the ship and turn this American experiment around, because you know ultimately where these ideas will take us in 20 or 30 years if nothing changes and the church remains asleep. Yes, it's shocking. Yes, it will anger you, but it will also inspire you. It will give you hope. Not hopium, but real hope for what we can do if the church actually wakes up in America. It's endorsed by Pastor Jack Hibbs, Kurt Cameron, Nick Vujicic, Abby Johnson, John Cooper from Skillet, and many more. And it answers the questions that I think most good Christians and concerned parents and individuals are asking right now. So I just wanted to share some of these stories with you guys. There are shocking statements and facts about how we got here. And I think I have 230 citations, meaning I did my research and I brought the receipts so that when you want to back up claims that you want to make about this culture and how we got here, I gave you all the receipts you need to be able to prove the claims you want to make and stand for life against this crazy culture of death. The film features Nancy Pearcey, who studied under Francis Schaeffer, Pastor Jack Hibbs, Eric Metaxas, Pastor John Amanchukwu, his father-in-law and pastor Bishop Wooden. Who am I leaving out? Pastor Dr. George Grant, my advisor, friend, and the smartest man I know, who is the worldwide expert on the history of Planned Parenthood and the life of Margaret Sanger. Bill Federer, celebrated American historian. You will meet these guests in the film, The 1916 Project. And if you watch that film and you host that at your church and you say, I'm hungry, I want more, well, the book provides a lot more data, facts, storytelling, truisms, and history behind how we got here than I could fit into a 75-minute documentary. So, guys, this is going to become a national movement. We have churches lining up to host screenings. We got to hire more people just to run this tour and to host these screenings around the country, because I think after 2020, people realized that there are a lot more lies behind our culture of death than they had ever comprehended. I actually don't think there would have been a market for this book and film in 2015. When I say that the Nazis got the term subhuman from Planned Parenthood's board member, I think statements like that would have gone over people's heads before 2020. I think they would have chuckled and said, Seth must listen to Alex Jones or something like, hey, he must wear, is he wearing a tin hat right now? I think that most of the church in America wasn't prepared for how disgusting the answers are, actually. John Cooper of Skillet actually read my book, and he said, this book has affected me. At times I wanted to punch a wall. At other times, the rage took the form of weeping. Prophetic, rousing, shocking, a slap to the face of the apathetic man. Some of you who read this book, I believe, will also actually weep. I had to stop sometimes in one chapter in particular. I had to stop and walk away from the computer. It was very difficult to write. This book might bring together the abortion, killing baby stuff and the weird sex stuff into one book in one location. Perhaps better than any other book. And I bled and sweat and mourned to make that happen for you. I don't think before 2020 the church was prepared for the answers that I provide on exactly how dark and sinister and coordinated the demonically inspired revolutionaries were that brought us to this moment that we're at in the culture war. But we need those answers. You need to be able to hear them, and you need to be willing to listen to those answers, because if we don't have the knowledge and we're not willing to hear the answers, we won't be able to fix the problem. What's the problem? I don't know, killing babies through point of birth? I don't know, if you're in California and you sexually assault a child and you're 10 years older, you're not even required to register on the sex offender list. I don't know that you can take your clothes off and dance in front of children naked at a pride rally in New York City with the police watching and they won't do anything because #pride. I mean, like pro-life sidewalk counselors being given 5, 6, 7, 8 years in prison. Like, do you understand? Like, the answers to all of that insanity are in this book. They're just, I don't think the church wanted to hear it before 2020. And God in his providence, I think, allowed the insanity of 2020 to happen to the church and to America to wake us up. How many people do you know who woke up in 2020? Most of my best friends right now, well, some of them were awake for a long time, but many of my best friends right now are people who say they really woke up in 2020. They realize exactly how corrupt and sinister and deceptive our institutions and culture are in America today. Well, now we're ready for those answers, and I did my best to provide them to you. I'm only talking this long about it because I cried and sweated and traveled the world to make this film and book happen. And many of you helped fund a lot of this and supported this ministry. This may be one of the tools that God uses in the coming years to awaken his church again in America, to do what we should have been doing all along. Standing for life, standing for righteousness, proclaiming truth, leaving the results to God, pleasing him more than making sure we continue to get tithes from the Democrats who attend our church, whose political sensibilities we don't want to offend by preaching the full counsel of God. John Quincy Adams, the hellhound of slavery, was once asked, John Quincy, slavery is not really ending. Your efforts seem to be a little futile there. You don't seem to be very effective. When are you going to be successful? And he simply responded, duty is ours, results are God's. But we need to be equipped, and we need to be informed, and we need to be educated in order to fulfill that duty. The 1916 Project will equip you to fulfill your duty as a Christian in these late stages of the culture of death. And we get testimonies and emails from people who, after hearing me speak at a church, changed their mind and became pro-life. We get testimonies from people who started a journey of healing from their abortion after hearing me speak. We get testimonies from people who helped change the mind of someone else in their life from listening to the podcast. Some of you have sent me those testimonials. This book and this film will take that to the next level. Way more testimonies, a fabric of testimonies of righteousness, of what God's doing in the culture. I just want to tell you, I feel humbled. I feel humbled, spoiled, and honored to be in the position that I'm in as the CEO of the White Rose Resistance, mobilizing and awakening the church. You guys are part of that. If you want to help and continue to be part of that, go to the 1916project.com/book. Pre-order it. You can buy in bulk and you get a discount, and then that way you support our ministry and not Amazon. And then just go to the 1916project.com to watch the trailer, to host a screening at your church, or to see my screening tour this summer between June and the end of August. You're not going to want to miss seeing this film before the rest of the world does. Thank you guys for your support. It means so much to us. If you want to follow this movement and get engaged, the 1916project.com, or go to thewhiterose.life. thewhiterose.life, and join us as an ally of the White Rose Resistance. If you join us at $35 a month, you get a battle box in the mail. Why? Because we want to equip you. We give you equipping to stand for life. And you join our digital community where we'll actually do live calls. We've had Eric Metaxas on. We do these fun live calls, and you get all of our curriculum and courses we have for our supporters to go be the resistance. And if you join at $70 a month at our air support level, you actually join our book club. It's called Books in the Barracks. And so we read a book together once a month to understand how we got here. And sometimes we get the author live on the call, and you get to ask them questions, and we get to talk about these books together, and it's really fun, and it equips you. So consider joining us, the fastest growing pro-life organization in America, as we launch resistance chapters all around the country to get the church engaged in this fight and the movement of the 1916 Project this summer, releasing online, streaming online for the world sometime later this year. Thank you guys for your support. Go to thewhiterose.life, go to sethgruber.com to hear me speak live and local, and I hope to see you on the road this summer at one of our exclusive screenings of this spiritually significant, timely, needed now more than ever film to put ourselves out of a job, to get the church back in the business of righteousness so that nonprofits like mine are no longer needed. We love you guys. We support you. Support us. Support unborn babies. Support the family. Support reawakening the church by buying copies of this book, The 1916 Project. Until next week, I'm Seth Gruber, and this is The Seth Gruber Show.